Okay, yesterday we were learning about the dinim of Kiddush. Last week we were discussing about when you uncover the halachos. It depends on the two reasons why you're covering the halachos, either because of the mother, not to embarrass the challah, and so forth. Okay, now what happens if somebody is going to make Kiddush over challah? There's no wine, you can only make Kiddush over challah. So what's the procedure? So you say Shalom Aleichem and Eshes Chayil, you say up to Yom HaShishi, you wash your hands for Al Natilas Yadayim, then you say, you pick up the challah, and you say Vayichul Hashmayim V'Aretz Chotzvam, and then you uncover the challah, you hold it while it's covered, then you uncover the challah and you say, as the Rebbe writes in Ayom Yom, Savri Moranon, Baruch Atah Hashem Elokeinu Malach Haolam HaMeitzi Lachem Min Haaretz. Then you replace the cover on the challah. Then you make the last bracha, and you slice the challah, and you eat.
You started with the challah covered.
Challah the cover covered, and then you uncover it by the bracha meitzi, because you're making the bracha on something, and then you recover it. That's what it says in halacha. The procedure is, if you're making Kiddush over... Now, what happens if somebody doesn't like wine or grape juice, and there's nobody else to make Kiddush for them? So then, the best thing to do is to make Kiddush over challah. Now, what is the criteria? Yeah. Friday night, for sure. Now, what's the qualifications of the cup? So, number one, it cannot have any cracks, holes. It has to be a smooth surface on top. It has to be holding at least 3.3 ounces, or approximately at least 3 ounces. If it's not clean, you have to wash the cup. Because one of the definitions of it has to be washed inside and outside. Now what happens if somebody made Kiddush already, and now somebody else is going to use the same Kiddush cup to make Kiddush? So then you don't have to wash it, because it was already washed before you make Kiddush the first time. There are poskim that hold that if possible, you should not make Kiddush on a disposable cup. So the Meshach Fein says, old tshuva, that you don't make Kiddush on the disposable cup. Why? Because you throw it out. It's not a keli, it's not a respectable thing. Obviously, if you have nothing else, then obviously you're allowed to use it. Some people can make Kiddush, it says in halacha, you can make Kiddush in a whole bottle of wine. There's a famous story when the Alter Rebbe got married and he was doing the Hasidic thing, and his father-in-law was very wealthy, didn't like the Hasidic shtick, and he took away all the wine and he hid it, and Alter Rebbe came home late and he made Kiddush on a barrel, whatever it was. Right? What? Yeah, he made a Kiddush on a barrel, and it was okay. The reason why they use 2 disposable cups is because it's more solid. Or makes it a little bit more choshuv. But again, a lot of times by Kiddushim, that's all they have, disposable cups. So you make Kiddush in disposable cups. Huh? No, it's better to make kind of plastic cup.
I have a question.
What?
Since the Rebbe said that it's better to do a Kiddush on wine and not on the grape juice. If you are in a place that they only have grape juice,
if you're in a place where they have only grape juice, so you can't drink grape juice, the wine, then you make Kiddush on grape juice.
Not on the challah.
Not on?
You don't prefer the challah?
No, grape juice is better than challah.
On the one that they use each other cups, could you use the leftover, the wine, and the other guys?
Okay, we're going to get to there soon, but you jumped the gun, so we'll jump the gun. The din is, if somebody drinks from wine, it becomes blemished. It's called pogum, which means you can't make Kiddush over it. You could drink it. Somebody else could drink it, make a bracha, but go and drink it. But because somebody drank from it, it's called blemished. Which means, nobody should do this, but if somebody has a bottle of wine and they open the bottle and they drink from the bottle when nobody's looking, or grape juice, you drink from the bottle when nobody's looking, I hope when people are looking, you don't do it. So then you can't make Kiddush on the leftover wine. It's called pogum. 1 second. If everybody's looking and they do the same thing, you could do it with them. So how do you unpogum wine? So the way to unpogum wine is by adding a little bit of more wine into it. Once you add unpogumed wine, so then it makes it good. That's why, if you notice many times when people make Kiddush and they want to give out the wine, they'll add wine to it. Even though these people are not making Kiddush, but because you're drinking Kiddush wine, they want to have it unblemished. So when you add a little bit of wine, in the Rebbe also, before you give al kosher bracha, would always add, whoever it was, add it to the cup right away, and then it's not blemished anymore. The same thing, let's say by a chuppah, our custom is, nobody does this, but our custom is, we use a glass for the first part of the wedding and the second part of the wedding. Most people you have two different glasses because it's called Eineis Mitzvahs Chavilas. But our custom is to use the same cup. So again, by adding a little bit of wine, you make it unblemished. And then there's no problem. So if a guy make Kiddush and he leaves a little bit, half a cup or left, whatever, and then you can add wine, it's good. What? Yeah, that's the bracha of Kiddush. What? Because, again, it has to do with the man, with this. If somebody didn't do it, it's good. But this is the way it says to do it. Have it covered. There's no shaming. But there's another reason, because of the tal, because of the man. So even though if you're making Kiddush and Challah, there's no shaming of the wine, but you still cover the Challah because of the second reason of the man. I didn't say that. I said it's always better to make on grape juice versus challah. What?
What's the concept again when you see those people who always, if they got a Kiddush cup, they always wash it?
The reason they wash it is the reason why they pour a little bit of wine into it. Water, I mean. First of all, to answer your question, a lot of people do a lot of things out of total ignorance. No, 1 second. Total ignorance. Okay? In Shulchan Aruch it says clearly, the Alter Rebbe also brings it down. If somebody made Kiddush and using the same cup, you don't need to clean it. Now, if halachically the cup was washed, let's say Mitzvah Shabbos, the cup was washed, and you didn't use it a whole week. Halachically, Friday night, you don't have to wash the cup again. It was washed and cleaned. The Rebbe always had a custom, whenever they gave him a cup of wine, whether it was Kiddush, not Kiddush, the Rebbe always took a napkin and cleaned out, wiped the inside of the cup. Ask him. He wiped the inside of the cup. Whether he made Kiddush or not, by Fabang, it didn't matter. He always took the cup, before they poured the wine, then he took a napkin, cleaned wiped the inside, it was clean. Now, some people would like to do it right before Kiddush because it was cleaned already, Mitzvah Shabbos, so they want to, so to speak, clean it again. Halachically, you don't have to. That's number one. Some people, What?
Is it better when you say Kiddush and you want to share with people, as soon as you say Kiddush, before you drink, pour it into another cup of it, or you pour it and make it non-public?
It is totally the same. Whether you pour off before you drink, as long as you have enough to drink, which is Mali Lugmav, or you drink first and then add wine.
It's not considered a hefsek?
No, because it's a split second. Now, if you noticed in Shul, we used to drink the wine and then add more and give it out to everybody. Then when COVID started, it was suggested to me that we shouldn't drink from there. So then I poured it over first, and I still do it. It doesn't really matter. Either way, you could drink from the cup, and then...
Pour out the cups before.
Now, some people have a minhag of pouring a little bit of water into the cup before Kiddush. A little bit of water. What's the reason for that? It's basically the Sfardim have that minhag. What's the reason for that minhag? There's two things. Number one, it's best to use red wine. Red wine, red is gevura. Water is the level of chesed. So because wine is gevura and you want to mix a little bit of water to make a little bit of chesed, so they'll put a little bit of water at the bottom of the cup and then they'll add the wine, okay? But you have to make sure that you don't dilute the wine too much, because the wine is already diluted many times to the maximum that halacha allows for wine to be diluted. Another reason why they do it, because the Gemara, when it speaks about Kiddush, 4 cups of Pesach and all that, the Gemara's expression is always meizgin leikos. Mozgin lokos. Now, meizgin has 2 meanings. Number one means pour, but meizgin, the Gemara says, also means diluting the wine. When in the time of the Gemara, the wine was called yayin chai. It was called, literally means raw wine. It was very, very strong. It was even unhealthy to drink. So the Gemara always says, before Kiddush, meizgin lokos means you take the wine and dilute it. Today it's already diluted. So because there's an expression in the Gemara, meizgin lokos, so therefore some people have a meaning that they put in a little bit of water into the wine in the dish. Huh? Yeah. In Chabad we don't do it.
So you were mentioning by washing it before, is that the same concept?
No, washing it before, because the Gemara says, the Alter Rebbe brings down in benching, that Keisha Bracha, in Hilchot Shabbos he just mentions, look over there. But the concept is that you need to have the cup clean inside and out. So again, some people like to do it right before. Halachically, you don't have to do it. The Rebbe used to wipe the cup. Some people want to do it. Halachically, you don't have to do it. What? The reason why the wife adds the water, I imagine, because she doesn't want a drunk husband. So she dilutes it, maybe. Now, ideally, people should not use grape juice if possible. In fact, I mentioned many times the story in Tavshin Lamed Ches, Shmini Atzeres, when the Rebbe had his heart attack, the first one. The Rebbe had his heart attack, and the doctors the Rebbe finally left shul, went up to his office, and the doctors came in and they said they wanted him to drink orange juice to get some sugar in him, because the Rebbe didn't eat that day. So the Rebbe said, okay, you got to make Kiddush. So they brought the Rebbe grape juice, because they didn't want him to drink wine in the middle of a heart attack. So it was Shmini Atzeres night. So the Rebbe said, we don't make Kiddush on grape juice. So they brought him wine. Then the Rebbe said, Shmini Atzeres, we have to make Kiddush in the sukkah. This is all in the middle of a heart attack, by the way. The Rebbe said, we have to make Kiddush in the sukkah. So the Rebbe went out to the sukkah to make Kiddush. And then he made Kiddush and wine. And then he had mezainis, whatever else they brought him. So the Rebbe, it's known that the Rebbe didn't like people making Kiddush and grape juice if possible. At least to dilute it 50-50 wine and grape juice. But if not, again, if somebody can't drink wine, they can make Kiddush and grape juice. What?
Is it just Havdalah that we use mashke to make
No, Havdalah you can't make on mashke. Shabbos day, some people make on mashke, which the Rebbe writes in many letters he was adamantly against. Even Simchas Torah. That's what the Rebbe writes. But, what can I tell you? The reason in Shulchan Aruch it says overflow the cup by Havdalah, you should start, it's like your house should be overflowed with brachas. So you start the week abundance. But our minhag is to do it by Kiddush also. It's brought down, our minhag is to do it by Kiddush. In fact, there's a very interesting thing. Many people, in fact, the Rebbe Rashab, the 5th Rebbe, told his Rebbetzin, never ask me for money Saturday night. You need money for next week, ask me on Friday. And in Yiddish they say, "Auf a volle Woche gibt nicht kein Geld." You don't start the week spending money. It's not a good thing. You should start the week in a mazeldik way, not spending money. So you start the week. So Shulchan Aruch says, "But Havdalah, yes, to overflow it, to show it it's in abundance."
But give it zakah.
What?
some hold in the tip of the 4 fingers?
Yeah, but you were into yesterday.
What's the minimum alcohol
of wine, they write 4% minimum. For
bringing has 4%.
yeah. What?
This is like a cup.
What?
What is that using a cup? If you only have disposable, like if it's between using a teacup, the handle versus a disposable cup, which is better to use? The same Kiddush.
A teacup.
Teacup's better.
What's after the you hold it at the bottom?
It's a teacup.
What's wrong with a teacup?
What if it's a coffee cup?
What's wrong with teacups? The Moshe writes, people disagree with the Moshe, by the way, but the Moshe Feinstein writes in a tshuva, it's a famous tshuva, that it's preferable not to make Kiddush on a disposable cup because it's not choshev, it's not prominent, it's a throwaway, it's a piece of... Right, so he's right, it's not respectful to the Kiddush. But he would also agree if there's nothing else to do, then for sure you do it.
How about wine, the white wine?
Ideally, it says in Shulchan Aruch he's supposed to use red wine because there's a pasuk that they quote, "Atera yayin ki yesadim," that wine is better halachically when it's red. But in Shulchan Aruch it says if the white wine is better than the red wine, then you can use white wine. Some people have a minhag that let's say they want to use white wine, but there's an inyan of having red wine. And this you go into another machlekes, it's getting late, but there's another machlekes if you're allowed to add, let's say you have, you fill up a cup of white wine, and a little bit on top you fill in with red wine, so it makes it red. So according to the way we hold, there's absolutely no problem with it. But there are poskim, contemporary poskim, that write, no, because then you're coloring the wine. There's a din, ain't svia ba'echlin. One second. There's no coloring by food. That's why you can make punch, you can take ketchup and put it on something, or mustard, you're not coloring. Because by food there's no din of coloring. But they're right, this is not a concept of food, this is, you're just doing it to make it red. So even according to those opinions, all you have to do is first put in a little bit of red wine. And then add the white wine, so then you're not coloring anything. Then it's going, what? That was what you wanted to say? Yeah, that's what they don't, those poskim, if I remember correctly, they don't even say that Eitzah, but that's a Pashat Eitzah.